Hi, this is Trevor Klee from Just Add Tutor, and this is lesson 4 on how to build a tutoring business, practicalities and logistics. So I'm assuming at this point you already found a niche and you built a website, and now in order to have a tutoring business, you do need to take care of all the, small logistics and whatever of a small business. It is how it is. You can't really avoid these boring parts. So sorry that this, whole lecture is going to be a little boring because, well, it's a boring part of the business, but it's an important one. So let's look at the list of stuff we're going to be covering. We're going to be covering web and email hosting, finding a place to work, setting prices and getting money for your services, dress code, dealing with difficult clients, no-shows, lateness, and complaining, tax deduction, bookkeeping. Whew. So, web and email hosting, first off. So in order to have a website, you do need to have website hosting. So I would recommend iWeb Fusion for people who are technically inclined, DreamHost for those who are less technically inclined. Both these are affiliate links, by the way. So to explain the importance of like website and email hosting, the way I like to think of it is like if you were an actual physical business, your web and email hosting would be the land that your website is built on, and your website would be the actual building. So it is important. I don't usually think about it on a day-to-day, but it goes down, the web host goes down, and all of a sudden your website goes down. So you do need people who are reliable, who are reasonable, who can help you out with any technical issues. iWeb Fusion, they're a small group, they're nice people. They've helped me out when I've had technical issues. Like I had some trouble setting up SSL on my website. They helped me out with that. So I would recommend them. Because they are a small group, they don't have the best technical documentation. DreamHost is a bigger group. They have better technical documentation, but they do cost more money. So iWeb Fusion is cheaper. DreamHost is more expensive, but DreamHost is probably easier if you are less familiar technically. Next up, finding a place to work. So where you work is, again, it's not super important, but you need a place to work. Don't meet people at your house, and don't travel to people. No one pays people. No one's going to pay you to travel. I mean, I see people are sometimes like, oh, I'm going to charge $10 extra if I have to travel. It's an awkward conversation, and like, still, what? You're valuing your time at like $10 per hour? It's not worth it. Just have them travel to you. Again, think of a doctor's office. You travel to the doctor. Doctors don't make house calls anymore. So make people travel to you, and in order to make people travel to you, you need a place that's easy to get to. I love Boston because Boston has some of the best public transportation in the United States, although that's sort of sad because Boston doesn't have great public transportation. So I use a WeWork space that's very easy to get to through public transportation, and then it's a nice place. We have free coffee, we have free water, we have free beer. It's air conditioned. It's the design is very modern. People like it, and when people see it, they go, "Oh, this is a nice place," and I say, "Yeah," and then that's a good excuse for me never to travel to them. So, again, this WeWork, if there's one near you, and there probably is. I mean, they've sort of been growing everywhere, and now they're growing super fast. There's probably one near you. That is another affiliate link. It won't cost you any money to click on it. So if you do click on it, I would appreciate it. If you don't, or if there's not a WeWork near you, then just find a nice, quiet place to work. It's easy to get to, and will be a good excuse for you not to travel to people. All right. Next up, setting prices, getting money. So you are going to need to set prices for your tutoring business. This can be a little difficult. It took me while of experimentation to figure out my current pricing, and I might change it again because I am getting a bit busier. I might up my prices a bit. I still have to think about it. When you're first starting out, I'd recommend you just find what people in general are charging for the tutoring that you do. Charge more than 75% of them. This might seem like strange. My idea is you're charging yourself as a premium service. You say, I am a subject matter expert. I can help you get to where you need to go, but I'm not the most expensive in the space. So people can still come to you and they'll still, be still be happy that you're not as expensive as possible, but they'll trust you as someone who is obviously such an expert that you can afford to, charge more than 75% of people. Also, for my purposes, I found that there's a lot of people who are interested in just like, they don't really feel like paying the full price. And it's strange because they will ask for a discount. They want to work with you. They want to pay. They don't care how much they're paying. They just want a discount on what they would normally pay. So, people ask me for discounts all the time. And usually I'll say, sure, what do you think is reasonable? And normally, they'll say, can I pay $150 per hour or $145? And I'll say, sure, why not? In terms of like getting money, I use Venmo, PayPal, and checks. Venmo and PayPal are super convenient, so that's why I use them. Recommendation: never ever leave money in Venmo or PayPal. They're very convenient. I like them a lot. They are not bound by the same rules as a bank. If they want to, they can keep your money for as long as they want. And they do that. There are all sorts of stories online of PayPal holding someone's money for 18 months. So you can't leave money in there unless you're willing not to see that money for 18 months. So use it, but don't leave money, or find someplace else. I get paid 5 or 10 hours in advance. So when I, meet with people and they decide to work with me, I say, okay, can you please pay me 5 or 10 hours in advance? I don't like chasing after people for money. I find that makes my bookkeeping easy. It also is nice because I, don't have to worry about like, have people paid me or not. I just remember whether they paid me 5 hours or 10 hours. Sort of locks them into working with you, which is also a bonus. It's good. I really haven't had any complaints about, asking people for 5 or 10 hours in advance. And I've found that it's like a great practice for me. I would also recommend, or I'd actually insist, never ever work without getting paid. If you work without getting paid, like you're not going to see that money anytime soon. Even if it's the nicest person, like if they think about, oh, am I going to not pay my tutor or am I not going to pay my rent? They're going to think, what is the tutor going to do? Sue me? Probably not. What is my landlord going to do? Evict me? Maybe. So they're going to be happy to skip out on paying you instead of paying their landlord, or pay their landlord instead of paying you. So don't work without getting paid. Worst comes to worst, people will reschedule their lessons if they need a little more time to get the money, but do not work without getting paid. You will be miserable if you do. Dress code: there's no dress code. I wear shorts and a t-shirt. Wear clean clothing. Dress appropriately. Don't dress like a madman. But like right now, I'm wearing a gray t-shirt. This was the same outfit I was wearing when I was tutoring earlier today. Worked fine. I just thought this shirt was kind of funny. It's an XKCD shirt. That's why I put it on here. I don't know if it's actually funny. All right, dealing with difficult clients. These will come up. I would say 70% of my clients are very nice and accommodating and reasonable, and then 30% of my clients make me want to tear my hair out. Whenever I deal with difficult clients, I'm always very apologetic and I'm very firm. So, for instance, If someone doesn't show, like, if I'm supposed to have a tutoring session and they don't show, I email them and I say, I'm really, really sorry. I hate to do this, but I'm going to have to charge you for the time. I, same thing every time. And if people, same thing if people are like uh, complaining. I talked to some girl a couple weeks ago who she was like interested in tutoring with me, and at some point, like she said, "Oh, I want to get like a really good score on the GRE," and I said, "Well, you said you're not very good at math." She got very offended and she was like, "What? So you think I'm not smart? You think I'm dumb?" I said, "Oh, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to say that. I'm sure you're totally smart." And I apologized and apologized. And I said, by the way, I think I'm probably not the right person for you to work with because I'm not dealing with that on a daily basis. Very apologetic, very firm. I'm not dealing with someone like that. Late ends at the scheduled time. Same thing. When they come in and they're like 20 minutes late, you say, hey, sorry, but we are going to have to end at 11 o'clock. I have another person coming in. Last minute cancellations, I'm pretty lenient. I mean, people always tell me like whenever my like friends or family gives me advice, they're like, "Oh, you have to charge people whenever they cancel within 24 hours." Uh, I've always felt sort of awkward about that. I don't know. You can try it. The way I do it is I warn them the first time. I say, "Hey, when you cancel late, it puts a hole in my schedule." If they cancel again late, I say, hey, I'm really sorry, but the next time you do this, I'm going to have to charge you. I really can't do this anymore. And then I charge them. Again, I'm very apologetic. I'm firm. And by the way, all of this stuff, charging people, well, guess what? That is way easier when you get paid 5 or 10 hours in advance. If you work without getting paid, you literally have no way of charging them. If you only get paid for like the 2 hours that they just did and you don't get advance payment, well, when they no show, how are you going to charge them? You're going to send them a bill? It's way easier to just have their money already and say, by the way, I've deducted from the money you gave me. Way easier to charge people when you already have their money. Whew. All right, more practicalities and logistics. Taxes and deductions. I'm not an accountant, but unless you have employees, stick with the sole proprietor. Like being an LLC, it doesn't really matter for us, like tutors. We don't take out loans. We don't have a lot of equipment. There's really no credit risk for having stuff, and we're not hiring and firing people, so that's also pretty easy. So just as a sole proprietor is fine. You'll hear people talk about an S corp. If you don't know what an S corp is, you can forget it. If you do know what an S corp is, it still doesn't apply to you because you can't do like the whole S corp distribution shenanigans because you are working on your own. It's not your products that are getting you money, it's services. There are different rules. So if you do an S corp, you're going to get charged for taxes. Same thing as if you filed as a sole proprietor. So just be a sole proprietor. You need to file with your social security number. Your deductions are really just going to be office rent and advertising. Again, being a tutor is something you can do very cheaply. All you need is an office. I pay like $350 a month for WeWork, and advertising, which I pay like a total of $100 a month. So those are my deductions at the end of the year. I also deduct exams when I retake them and whatever. That's all you need. It's pretty straightforward. You're gonna have to pay quarterly for your taxes. Your taxes are gonna come out to like roughly a quarter of your money. I ended up spending like 25,000 in taxes last year, which sucked. Yeah, that's the reality of being a self-employed person. You pay a lot in taxes. Actually, it's even worse than you think. You pay 7.5% more in taxes than traditionally employed people. It really sucks. It's called the self-employment tax. Goes into Social Security and Medicare. You have to pay it. Also, just use Tax Act or whatever. You don't have to use an accountant. You could probably just do it on your own if you really wanted. Uh, and also, don't worry, you're not going to be audited. Like, there are only really a couple reasons people get audited. One, the IRS gets a tip off from some disgruntled employee or ex wife or whatever. And that might sound funny, but actually that's a really big way on how like people get audited. The IRS takes tips really seriously because ex-wives know a lot more than anyone else does about your finances. Number two, if someone files something that goes against one's you claim, so MIT, for instance, provides me with a Form 990 because I'm a contractor. They say we pay Trevor this amount. If I don't report on my tax return that MIT paid me a certain amount, the IRS says, well, that's suspicious. And third, the IRS really hates like crazy deductions and whatever. You can't be ridiculous. They really hate the home office deduction. They can get sort of serious about like deductions for mileage or whatnot. So if you go crazy about that, then they will audit you. But very few people get audited. You almost certainly will not be, unless you happen to get have a divorce and then your ex-wife wants to screw you over. So don't worry about being audited. Just do your taxes and you'll be fine. Last up, bookkeeping. It's very straightforward. You just get paid in 5 or 10 hour increments. Then you keep track of hours like this. I put everything into my Google Calendar and I say, meet with Chris, hours 1 and 2, meet with Chris, hours 3 and 4, meet with Chris, hours 5 and 6. If he paid me in 5 hours, and then he has to pay me again at the end of the October 27th session, paid me in 10 hours, then he can just keep going. And all I need to do is keep track whether Chris paid me in 5 hours or 10 hours, and all that stuff's in my email anyways. Another reason why I really like Venmo or PayPal. So let's sum it up. All these boring random logistics about running your own tutoring business. Very boring but important. Web and email hosting, I recommend iWeb Fusion or DreamHost. If you do want to do that, if you want to get your own website hosting and you do want your own email host, please click on those links. They won't cost you any money and they will help me out, pay me some extra money. Appreciate it. Finding a place to work, make sure it's just convenient, quiet, nice amenities. Basically, it's a good reason for you not to travel to their place. I'd recommend WeWork. Again, if you could click on the affiliate link, that'd be great. If there's no WeWork in your area, I understand you wouldn't really want to click on the affiliate link, whatever. Setting prices and getting money. Charge more than 75% of people. Charge in 5 or 10 hour increments. Never work without getting paid. Dress code, wear whatever. Dealing with difficult clients. This is going to be way easier if you have already charged them. It's going to be way more difficult if you haven't, if you're working and getting paid every time you work, or God forbid you're working and then getting paid. So dealing with difficult clients, way easier if you have their money in the first place. And then whatever they say, you're very apologetic, but you're firm. Charge them for no-shows. Make sure you end late things on time. Apologize when they complain. If people do last-minute cancellations, it's up to you, but you can accept it once and then charge them the second time. Just say, oh, I'm very, very sorry about this, but, and then do whatever you want to do. Taxes and deductions, save like a quarter of your money for taxes, deduct office rent and advertising. You're set beyond that. Bookkeeping, put it all in your calendar. Just list how many hours you're doing with each person, hours 1 and 2, hours 3 and 4, and then just, keep track of whether they paid you in 5 or 10 hour increments. So that's the list of logistics. I know all this stuff is super boring and it's not really what you dreamed of when you wanted to start your own tutoring business, but you got to do this stuff or else you don't have a business. You're just a guy with a website. Cool. Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much and see you next time.